You have this moment of truth tomorrow where the council could very well vote on whether the interim tag is removed. Why do you want this job? Why do you want to stay in this job? You had it before. As you know, there have been some controversies related to this call center, to your tenure, but you have a lot of respect from employees here. Why do you want to come back? Why do you want to stay here and make it permanent?
Sure, so I'll tell you why I came back. So after 13 months in the private sector, I knew that my heart was in public safety in 911. I've done it for 23 years. And I had heard that the agency was quite frankly dwindling, and I mean in staffing. It was a toxic environment, and there was a 13-month search. There was a headhunter that searched for an executive to come run this agency, and it hadn't been filled. And so I applied to the position, not just for me, right? I missed it. I love 911, but I applied for the employees. I applied to come back and do what I've done before, which is stabilize the agency, get it in the right direction to where it needs to be. And I'm doing that now. And I think that it would be a misfortune for not only the employees, but actually the callers, my family that lives here, if we don't keep this agency going. It is the pivotal point of public safety. All roads lead here when you need help, and we are here to help.
How are you feeling about just how you've been treated? I know last week you mentioned that this is one of the toughest moments you've really dealt with in your life and in your career. Talk a little bit about sort of how you feel you've been treated by the media, by the public.
Sure. So I think that it is, I'm not a political person. I'm a public servant. I am here to do a job. And I think that I took for granted the power of social media, the power of these undercurrent of relationships, and the power of disinformation and how it does a disservice to the residents. And maybe that was me being naive on my part. As I mentioned before, I'm not from DC, I'm from Georgia. So I came in here to do a job. I had no relationships. I didn't know anyone. Everyone on my reference list, none of them were from DC. I came in to do a job and work for the 911 center and make OUC the best 911 center in this country. And the amount of backlash that I have gotten still does not make sense to me. I have had no relationships where at the end of the meeting it ended acrimoniously, right? I get things done where I need to partner with our partnering agencies. We do that. If I think something is not good for the district, I say that. And it's a misfortune that if I do that, if I stand up for this agency, and most of the time what I'm standing up for is not just the agency, it's the actual caller. When you talk about privacy and things like that, it's the caller. And so sometimes I stand up to that and say, no, we cannot release that. People don't understand how 911 calls sound. When you're calling at the height of your emergency, it is a very, very difficult time for both you and the call taker. And so I want to make sure that the message gets out there. I'm not protecting the call takers. I'm not protecting Karima, right? I'm protecting the job. I know what we do. And I'm protecting that caller because you don't want people to not call 911.
Let's go to the 3-month-old baby situation. And that's a situation that just happened this year under your watch. Unfortunate scenario. Were there mistakes done that you regret, that the call center regrets? What can you tell us about that particular scenario? Because there have been a number of deaths with calls. Misclassified, that sort of thing in the audit, as we know, and we'll go over that in a minute, but talk a little bit about whatever you can regarding
Sure.
that 3-month-old baby in that scenario.
Sure. First of all, that is devastating, right? Loss of life for anyone is devastating for me. I don't sleep lightly. It's devastating for my employees. Now, I can't get into the specifics of the call because it's under investigation still. But what I can tell you is that we investigated that call from A to Z. And I say that a lot because I want to make sure people understand we take it serious. We investigated it. And what we have done since then is there are processes that, right? There are processes that we felt could have been better aligned to help our call taker and dispatchers that were involved. And so those processes have been streamlined to be better and easier. There's communication lines that needed to happen. The other thing that I want to make sure while we're talking about things like that misfortunate call is all our calls where we make mistakes, right? Whether they end in a bad way, because there are mistakes that happen that don't end in big ways or in bad ways rather. We take them serious. You know, our call takers take them serious, not just administration, not management. They huddle, they're out on the floor, they're talking about how they can do better. I got an email the other day from an employee and he had 3 things. He said, hey, you know, Director Holmes, I noticed this, this, and this. So next time they have training, I got that email, I sent it to my training department. And so we really take this serious. And I think that it's a misfortune for anyone to think that 400 people are in this building. No one in this building has raised an alarm to say Karima is doing something wrong. No one has raised an alarm to say that a call taker is getting by doing something wrong. So that means to say that you have 400 people in this building that you think does not have integrity. Not one person. I know I would. If I knew something was going on wrong in this building, under me, with me, that's how I am. So I know that there are other people out there, and you don't hear that. My 400 employees understand what we do. We are a profession. We are just like any other public safety entity, just like police and fire, right? I don't get the respect that the police and fire chief get, right? People question everything I say. I have not said anything different. I have not changed my narrative. I have all the facts. We have a transparency page. I am following up on things. I answer questions. I have alerted counsel to different things. But all of that gets drowned out and another narrative comes up. And that's really trying for me.
Is this just this job, your job, the job of the dispatchers down there that we saw earlier, is this just not for the faint of heart? Is this just the toughest of the tough to deal with these calls? How do you explain to the public how difficult these jobs are?
Yeah.
When you get a call in, or for a baby that isn't locked in a car, or for someone that's been shot on the side of the road, how difficult is it? Explain that to the public.
So there was a study done across the industry on 911 call takers. And the study was found that 911 call takers suffer PTSD at the same level of a police officer. And what they found is the reason why we suffer is 2 points. 1 point is when you call 911, it is at the peak of the emergency. It is when the baby is choking. It is when your husband didn't wake up. It is when you woke up and your husband isn't breathing. You are at the heightened part of your emergency and you call us and we're asking you to give me your address. Give me your telephone number. Turn your husband over. I'm going to tell you how to do CPR. And at the same time, we're human. We have husbands. I have a mother right now that is sick. We understand that, but we're trying to keep it together for you. We're trying to get that information. And then we're having to type that information while you're crying, while you're telling us to get that information out to the responders. And so that type of coordination is hard. And we usually do that in less than a minute. We get all of that done in less than a minute. And then not only that, we're getting, he hangs up, or the call taker hangs up with that call, they answer another call. Each call taker gets 200 calls a day. And so that piece is very hard. The other thing that I would say is, yes, it is a very hard job. I've done it. I answered calls for 8 years. I don't think I could do it again, just based off of my age and what I've gone through. It's a very hard job. I have cried over the phone. I have went out to my car, closed the door, and cried. It's a very hard thing to do. But in the industry, we have found out how to help with that, right? We can't eliminate all of those.
How do you help? Training, support, right? Unfortunately, in this agency, I really think, and I touch just about every 911 center in this country. I think we are the most scrutinized 911 center, period. Why is that? Because you're in the nation's capital?
I think because there's this undercurrent of individuals that, I don't know if it's a control thing, and they want to control the agency. But what I will tell you is that undercurrent of individuals are not 911 professionals. They have never ran a 911 center. I have ran 3 911 centers across this country. Some of them don't even live in the district, right? And they're telling us how to run our center. The people that know how to do their job best is the people that do it every day, and that is us.
So let's go to that. So, I mean, I'm going to read here from this report, as you know, after you left, by the DC auditor, and it said the comprehensive findings include inadequate supervision of the call taking and dispatch operations, inconsistent or ineffective use of call script protocols, inconsistent use of location determining technology tools to determine locations, and insufficient management follow-up on after-action reviews. And as you know, I'm sure you read the report, it goes on and on. How do you respond to that? I mean, it was pretty scathing. It was 114 pages. I know there's another follow-up that will happen in January.
Sure.
How do you respond to that? Is there some truth to it?
There is, but there are about 30 recommendations. And I think what has not come out, or what is not being really truly put out there, is I agree with, there were 31, I agree with 30 of them. These are things that we know in 911 centers are really hard to do. So the supervision. We are growing. The agency is taking more calls than in previous years, other than 2020, which was everybody took a lot of calls. And so we have hired more supervisors. It's been asked for in our budget. And we've started putting more supervisors out there. That's number one. The other thing about the protocol system, we also identified that the protocol system is not right. Right now in procurement, we're getting a new protocol system that is used across the country. So that will help with that. The management of calls and investigations. We hired a special ops and investigator who is removed from our operations. They answer directly to me, and they investigate calls to the end, including interviewing employees, looking at screenshots. So yeah, the employees say, I clicked this. I need to see that you clicked it. And also rendering the right aid, whether that's a personnel action, whether that's more training, whether that's process. All of that is being done. I also would say that in the audit, it actually says that we thoroughly investigate every call that came in. It's said in there. It's said in that audit. The auditors agreed. And so I think that these things are said. I have said this is how we're addressing it. We have on our website the roadmap that shows where we are here. But this narrative of still coming back saying that, you know, we're making minimal progress. The initial audit was done. I had only been here 59 days. I have 10 departments with 10 chiefs. I only had 4 chiefs. 6 chiefs had left since I left. I had to hire people in to do this. We have a very complex operation.
So what has been fixed that you can point to, that hang your hat on to say, this is working better, DC auditor?
Sure. We've hired new supervisors. We have more supervisors. They were promotional up. Not only the location technology that I procured before I got here is up and running. We've had more training on that. We've also added a piece. We call it the stop sign. So what happens if a call taker puts in an address that didn't pop up on the map as the caller? Little thing pops up and say, hey, you're putting an address in wrong, because we know they rush and there's different reasons why they they could put the address in wrong. So we've put these measures in place. We're doing this. We are doing better. One of the other things, if I could just insert here, this misconception that mistakes are happening now that I came back. That is absolutely not true. We do have a small amount of mistakes, but every mistake we take serious, and we understand some mistakes are minor, some mistakes are big, and we understand that, and we make sure that, right, we understand that. Everything we do here in this agency deals with life, and we understand that. But we had just as many mistakes before I was here. The problem is those were not amplified. Karima doesn't understand why. And so I think that's very unfair. And not blaming the call takers or anybody, right? Every 911 leader understands that you take this job, you're going to have mistakes. And so out of 3 million calls, we had 100 or so mistakes, right? I knew that. We know we're going to have that. But every single one we look at, and every single one, if we can do better, we can. I just think it really needs to be put out there that these mistakes did not start. I didn't walk in this building and everyone's like, oh, Karima's bag. No, that's not true. These are mature people.
Chairman Mendelson said to me on Friday that even if things are getting better here, to be fair to you, perception is oftentimes reality. And the perception is that things are not getting better and that this is too tough, too difficult of a situation, too arduous for you to overcome,
Yeah.
and that the mayor should have pulled your nomination. How do you respond to that?
I respond to that is a bad way to look at things for the residents. That perception is more important than the truth.
And going forward here, in terms of you telling the public why you should be in this job, and forget council for a minute, but just the general public, talk to them about why you should be in this position. Because you talked about coming back because you love this job, you love the city, you've made a difference. Talk about to the public why that you really should have this chance
Sure.
to turn this thing around.
I'll start light and then I'll move into something a little more serious. But I know what I'm doing. I've done it before. This agency is better since before I came, the first time and the second time. I have all of the qualifications. I made a career out of 911. I lead other 911 leaders. People look to OUC to do better. This agency is vital. We are a profession, right? We are a profession. And I have a passion for this. I'm not political. I don't know anyone in DC. I came here, I took this job. It's not easy for me. If you really think about what I'm going through, I have a 15-year-old son and I have a mother that I take care of. And if you really think about what I'm going through, it can't be for fun. I'm not getting anything out of this other than I know that I'm right. I know that we're right. I know that the agency is doing better. We do the best, right? We do save lives on that floor. And we can get better. And we are working on anything that we can get better at every single day. We do that. And I think that this disinformation and this misfortunate narrative that has gotten out there has really got out of hand. And it's unfair, not only to me, right? It's unfair to the people that report to me. It's unfair to the people that report to them. It's unfair to the callers that call. And I think that if you look at my track record, if you look at the recognition that Karima has gotten and look at the recognition that OUC has gotten, drowning out the people that actually matter, the people that know how to run a 911 center and understand how 911 centers go, they support Karima, right? Every person that does not support me or says that they don't know me, I have not met half of these people. They have not come in this building. They have probably not come in any 911 center. And I think that is just completely unfair.
Does it feel like this is unfinished business for you? Because you left in 2021, right before that audit was released. And then you came back, and then, as we know, the audit had been released and was critical of your tenure. Does it feel like it's unfinished business for you?
I try not to look at it that way because I didn't plan to come back. I was okay. I was fine. I needed to go into the private sector. Now, I did think that I needed to go back to government, right? But one thing,
Why?
Because maybe it was just it is what I do. Government is more service oriented, quite frankly. We get a bad rap as government employees, but government is really for service. And the private sector was okay, but they're about numbers and money, right? And I didn't mesh well, but I learned a lot. But I will say this about coming back and unfinished business. When I left the agency, again, you have the perception and the truth. The agency was actually in a good place. I wouldn't have left. The agency was really in a good place. If you look at, I came in 2016. If you look at prior to me coming back in 2016 to where we went, where we were when I left in 2021, Text to 911 was launched. We launched the non-emergency number. We shaved seconds, which is a lot on a 911 call, off of calls. There were programs that were put into place. The agency was in a better place. So Karima didn't leave an agency flailing, right? I left an agency that was again in place. It was an audit. People get audits. They're fine. I welcome the audit. I said that, right? But I came back because the agency was headed in the wrong direction. And that was completely unfair to the employees.
Why was the agency headed in the wrong direction from your vantage point, from what you were told? Obviously, you were away.
Yeah.
Why was that direction? And the morale, from what I understand, was was pretty bad. Why? What happened?
I think the leadership at the time is bad leadership. I don't know the specifics because my team, when I wasn't here, of course, you know, I didn't know enough, right? Because I wasn't here. They weren't going to give me, you know, information. But when I came back, I think the employees were mistreated. I think that's why you didn't see the amplified narrative, because there were relationships in the back. And I think that we lost 50-something employees that quit while I was gone because they were unhappy. And I think that you had some, you know, someone leading 911 that maybe did not have the experience I had to handle something this complex, quite frankly.
What do you foresee happening tomorrow with council?
I have no idea. What I hope will happen is that council will do what they are put there to do and make an honest decision, look at all the facts, not the perception, not the tweets, right? The facts of what I said, what my team says, what's available. And I hope they make the right decision to give me the respect and the due process that they've given hundreds of directors. I've been confirmed before. I have a backing of not only my union, my team, my labor, the industry. These people are not going to put themselves on the line for, you know, this Georgia girl, Karima, right? Unless they know I know what I'm doing and I know I'm being honest. It is a very hard fight. I don't have to have this fight, but I'm in this fight because I know it's right.